Real quick, have you guys heard about this horrific accident that happened? I think it happened in Malibu last week, about these 4 Pepperdine college students that were pedestrians on a sidewalk on a main street. I think it was PCH.
22-year-old was allegedly speeding, doing about 105 miles per hour right there on PCH. He hits 3 parked cars that then hits these 4 girls.
Well, someone mentioned it, but I honestly don't know much about it. I just thought about the other car crash that happened, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the one in Manslaughter. In that case, the driver was speeding, it was 134 miles per hour, and it hits multiple vehicles, and it clearly runs a red light, and it kills 6 people and a pregnant woman. And it was actually one of the cars caught on fire, and it was pretty bad.
So that's funny, because something that I thought of when I heard this was when the player for the Raiders, Henry Ruggs, a couple years ago in Las Vegas was driving, and he was going at some kind of reckless over 100-mile-an-hour speed, and he hits and kills a woman in another car. What sort of connected it for me between the two was that I saw that the district attorney here in Los Angeles regarding this guy in Malibu is charging this guy with murder, the driver of the car, being charged with murder and not vehicular manslaughter.
Well, there's a couple factors. Speed, 104, 105 miles per hour on PCH, which we've all been on. You can easily go fast there, but that's just not a reasonable speed. His defense attorney is saying, wait a minute, that's not the whole story. First, he's saying he was actually going 77 miles per hour. And he's saying my guy was being chased, in a sense, to reduce the culpability, to say, look, my guy isn't this belligerent, out-of-control driver. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I have a couple of questions. I mean, I'm not sure. When you're saying murder, what would be the mens rea, right? What's going to qualify for him the intent to actually kill these people? The fact that he was driving at 104 miles per hour in a street. 2, with that's mitigating factors, right? And I really don't know enough about criminal law to say whether it's going to work or not. But
see, now you're taking me back to law school, right? Vehicular manslaughter. But see, okay, so there's
do the IRAC issue rule analysis.
There's a lot of things that are interesting. The thing that I found that was a couple of things, because I want to talk about his lawyer's statements. But let's talk about that, because what I thought was interesting about that is I believe at first the lawyer said, oh no, he wasn't speeding. And then also said, but he was also being chased. So I thought that those are kind of contradictory statements.
Here's the thing though, because PCH, the speed limit is like 55, and if he's going 77, not that bad, right? It was 8:30 at night. Presumably there's no traffic.
But dark.
But dark, fair enough. But PCH, it's a unique street. It's long and curvy, but you can easily drive fast on that street.
It's like a highway, but it's not.
77 seems reasonable to me. 104 never seems reasonable.
But I heard they got that speed off of the car's like
black box
onboard computer or whatever.
Are we sure that that's?
No, I'm not sure. We're just discussing.
And how accurate is that?
I didn't even know all cars had black boxes. I know the electric cars now, like the Teslas, after an accident, they have like 10 minutes of recording. But I didn't know every car, I think they should have a black box.
Actually, yes. Maybe about 10 years ago or so, when they started to do more technology in the vehicles, and then moving more towards hybrids, and then now electrical vehicles.
Which is great. I think that can only help during these accidents to kind of put together what happened.
But another thing I noticed is that they also took the driver, they took some statements from him where he admitted he knew like you really shouldn't be driving that fast on that road because it's not safe. And my first thought was like, what is this guy doing talking to anybody?
Why would you admit that?
Where was his attorney at that point?
Yeah, just being a 22-year-old, he's probably scared. But you're right.
Okay, well now the question is this. Do you think that would be, I guess, if he's being honest, then you believe him that he was being chased and he was actually fearful of his life? I
mean, look, I think it's a I don't know if it's a viable defense, but it's an issue that I think would need to be fleshed out. But the question for me is, and I'm not personally familiar with that stretch of PCH, but that this day and age, there's got to be cameras, right? So something would have picked up this guy being chased, I would think.
Or someone, right?
Right. Whether it be someone's camera phone, but street cameras on businesses or houses, right? There was a couple years ago, someone broke into a house down the street from me, and the police came literally to every house on our block asking to look at the footage of everybody's, so they could kind of piece it together, and they could literally see where perpetrators like move down the street
Yeah.
right before and after, and it's kind of cool. And so you really can't escape that.
I actually just had that happen on last Sunday. Oh, well, you heard of that Hawthorne police chase that was happening?
No,
It
tell me
actually went right in front of my street. The guy that they were pursuing crashed into another vehicle. Someone died, I don't know who,
Wow.
but they had the entire street closed off by the time I got back from church.
Have they asked you for your ring camera?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's there, right? And
You see the car going by super fast, and then you just hear their crash.
that sounds so cringeworthy. It doesn't
It
matter where
is,
you are.
it is.
Yeah.
You could be in bed
Yeah.
and you hear that, and
Yeah,
you're
right.
just like, oh,
That's it.
Yes.
like you're waiting for like
You're kind of like braking,
Yeah.
right, for
Right,
them
right.
too.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's interesting, like whether his story is accurate.
Right.
I also think personally in that situation he might say just about anything to get out of it or cast doubt.
He's got to prove it up too. Get the text messages from the phone, get camera.
Right. Computer diagnostics from the car that show what he's doing. Is it possible for them to see how long he was going at that speed and what speed he was going at prior to that? Was it like a sudden increase or was he just going 104 for like the last 15 minutes, right? Because if you're going 104, you either lost the person chasing you or they're right.
Well, it depends how fast they're driving, though, right? And
This is
who's
true.
chasing you?
Yes.
It's true, right?
Right.
Drag race or something. I don't know. Other thing I thought was interesting was that they said no alcohol,
No drugs, no alcohol.
nothing under the influence, right? So I referenced that case in Las Vegas, the Henry Ruggs, the football player, the Raiders football player case. He was like heavily intoxicated.
Oh, yeah.
right? Now, what's interesting there was he's heavily intoxicated, which I think goes back to your mens rea point, because if you are intoxicated and get into your car, you should have the requisite mens rea, maybe not. But, he only got vehicular manslaughter, right?
Right.
He's in jail for 3 years or something,
Sure.
something minimal,
Right.
right?
Right.
And this guy, they're charging this guy with 4 counts of murder for each one of these girls, murder. Which,
I think it's excessive to a certain point, but then if you're the father of that girl that died,
That's what you want.
you may think it's not enough,
I
right?
agree.
I mean, yeah, I imagine that like this guy's attorney are going to contest the murder charges as being, inapplicable or too severe, that this falls under the manslaughter and the vehicular manslaughter, which really is carved out for this. And given the fact that he doesn't have any impairment, any drug or alcohol impairment, and potentially was chased, but who knows? But that I think taking out the alcohol or the drugs seems weird that they would charge him with murder to me, right?
I agree. Because how can you establish it was done with intent to kill all 4 of those girls?
Well, I guess what they're gonna say the intent is the fact that you are violating the speed limit, recklessly doing so, right? But at that point, when you're going 104, when the speed limit is 45
Right.
or 55, then
That's-
you're gonna kill someone, right? You're gonna lose control over the vehicle and you're gonna kill someone.
Right.
That's the intent. That's what
So
they're
let
gonna
me
say.
ask you this, right? We can agree that it appears to be defined as reckless to be driving 104 miles an hour on a street that does not have anywhere near that speed limit, right?
Agreed.
Correct.
So my question to you is it more reckless if under the influence is involved? Or is it you're already at the highest level of recklessness, so it doesn't matter?
No, in my opinion, I think it is more reckless if
Yeah.
you are intoxicated,
Right,
right? Not just alcohol, whatever it is, right?
right. So 104 miles an hour plus drunk,
Right.
Yes.
even worse.
Even worse.
So interesting that they chose to charge this gentleman with murder when
Didn't have those factors.
right, when we hear of this every day where people get killed by drunk drivers all the time,
All the
right?
time.
Well, I would want to know the reasoning behind the charges for murder. Like, beyond it was 104 miles per hour, right? I want someone kind of to explain to me the justifications under the law. Is it justifiable to charge him with murder at this point?
I mean, the DA seems to think so, right?
He thinks so.
Because remember, if they go forward with charges of murder, they have to establish that's their burden, right? If they don't do that, this guy walks, right? They don't get to
Yeah.
come back and charge him again,
Right.
as a second chance. That'd be double jeopardy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And what I thought it was interesting is, I think that those are the only charges, right? Just murder, not reckless disregard or vehicular manslaughter.
I guess they could add those on, but I don't know.
I saw they did charge him with vehicular manslaughter as well.
Interesting.
Okay, because in that case, I believe that if you don't prove up one but you prove the other, then
Right.
he
It's your
doesn't
fallback.
he doesn't walk.
That's interesting. Then you
Yeah.
think maybe it's like a ploy by the DA to try and get this guy to take a plea deal and just
Actually, maybe.
do some
Yeah.
time for
Yeah.
that.
To avoid all this, the risk
Mhm.
and uncertainty.
How old were these girls? I know they were college.
College seniors, 19 to 21, I guess. Yeah.
He's
Heartbreaking.
22, right? The
He's
driver.
22. And what's crazy, that strip in Malibu, there've been over 49 deaths in the past 10 years, right on that strip. Now,
Wow.
is the city of Malibu now culpable, right?
That's interesting.
They have known about these prior deaths. They should have taken steps to make it safer.
Okay, so what steps do you think they should have taken?
You can make a pedestrian path a little safer. You can make a bike path safer. You can reduce the speed limit. Maybe add speed humps.
And maybe more street lights or something.
More street lights. They should have acted, right? Caitlyn Jenner had an accident right there that killed someone.
And I don't think that she was charged with murder.
What sort of brought this story from me was not so much the horrific nature that these 4 girls were killed, was that they are charging this guy with murder. Right?
Yeah.
I almost feel like I wouldn't have heard about it had they just been charging him with vehicular manslaughter, because unfortunately that happens sadly all the time, right?
Yeah.
All the time.
You know, but Steve brings up a very interesting point, because what I hear when you're saying that is there's a civil lawsuit coming against the city of Santa Monica, right?
Has to be.
Or City of Malibu.
Or
Yeah.
Malibu.
It has to be, right? I
Has
mean,
to
they're not gonna. This guy's not gonna. I mean, they'll name the driver as a defendant, but we don't know what his finances are. But we assume that
And the other part.
the deep pockets are going to be
Deeper.
Malibu, right?
100%.
Or whatever municipality that is. Sure.
Yeah.
But those are hard cases to win.
They are.
But if they settle,
Sure.
then there's still some money, right?
Sure. It just makes it like strange for me that they're going for murder on this. I wonder if there's something more we don't know about this.
Right? They're still digging up the facts, so something's gonna.
I wonder if this guy, the driver, has had any like prior, because I didn't hear anything about that, but has he had any prior transgressions or
Yeah.
infractions with the law?
Right. Speeding tickets,
Records.
car accidents,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that for sure that's going to come out,
Right.
as it should.
right?
Wow. Okay, guys.
All right, great.